I never planned to kiss him, my father's closest enemy, a man twice my age, but when it happened, my world split open like glass on concrete. One second I was running from everything I thought I knew, the next I was trapped in a room with him, his hand gripping my wrist like he could stop me from falling apart. He wasn't supposed to look at me that way, like I was the only thing left worth saving. My chest burned with fear, shame, hunger, and still I couldn't step back. His breath hit my skin, his voice cut through the dark, low and dangerous. If you stay, you'll ruin us both. And yet I stayed. I let him touch the edge of my jaw. I let the silence stretch until I thought it would break me, because for the first time in years, I felt alive even if it killed me. But what he did next I'll never forgive or forget. Glass didn't break, it screamed. The windshield went white, the airbag punched my face, and the horn pinned me to the world like a nail. Heat poured into the car on St. Charles while a streetcar bell clanged behind smoke. I tasted copper and talc and fear. A hand slid over my shoulder like a verdict. Look at me. My father, Judge Walker, leaned into the shattered door, immaculate, calm, inventorying witnesses with a bored sweep of his eyes. He uncurled my fist and pressed a ring into my palm. Smooth gold, cold command. Enough wandering, Ethan, he said. Engagement set. You'll smile. Sirens rose. I nodded because my body still did what his voice told it to do. Over his shoulder, Detective Harris lounged against an unmarked sedan and raised a phone like a toast. Good, 2-ton, clicks from my father meant yes. He squeezed my shoulder until the world freckled black. In the ambulance, Clara Pira, 27, careful, the girl chosen to anchor my last name to another. It looks worse than it is, she said, voice steady, eyes not. My father spoke to yours. Well, keep it quiet. My phone buzzed under the blanket. Unknown, you want make him straight by crashing his car. Another message followed, a grainy photo of me last week, leaving a side door on magazine, head down. Then more angles I never saw, months of me catalogued like evidence. My mouth went dry. I could still feel the ring biting my skin. Not like this. I walked out of the against instruction, hospital bracelet sticky on my wrist. In the mirror, I looked like a secret you couldn't keep, swollen lip, powder on my collar, pupils blown. Outside, New Orleans breathed hot and close the night wore a halo. Claire texted, your father thinks Sunday works. We can do this, well be fine. The ellipsis trembled like a lie. A new number lit the screen. Check your father's glove box. I didn't think. Valet recognized the name and handed me his keys without proof. The town car smelled like leather and judgment. In the glove box, a thick envelope waited with my initials on it in his tidy hand. Inside, prints on matte paper, each stamped with a date. Me at 17, watching a boy shoot hoops through a chain. Link fence. Me at 19 in a dim bar, face turned, hand on a stranger's wrist. Me last month, pausing outside a storefront heavy with greenhouse off magazine looking into. Had been watching me learn what I wanted so he could bury it under a contract. Something hard ticked under the dash. I ripped out a tracker and watched its red light blink like a heart that wasn't mine. Rage made everything sharp. I twisted the ring off and dropped it in the cup holder like a dead coin. Make a choice, I told the mirror. Dark window. It stared back the way he died expecting submission. I drove nowhere first, looping the Garden District because panic loops. Then I slid the tracker into an idling taxi's trunk while the driver smoked and didn't look up. At home, the housekeeper's soup went cold. In my father's study, a ledger lay open. My name paired with Claire's in neat columns like a fate you could itemize. A floorboard creaked. Harris stepped in without knocking, dropped a velvet ring box on the desk, and smiled like a bruise. Insurance forms at 10, he said. The judge hates returns when he left. The room felt thinner, like air after a door slams. I opened the box. The ring shone like compliance. I slipped it on just to feel the weight I meant to refuse, then shoved it into my pocket so I could carry the gravity of saying no. Claire waited in the foyer, hair gathered, voice low. It wasn't an accident, was it? I shook my head. For a second her mask cracked. If you disappear, disappear clean, she said. They are not just watching you, they, our fathers, a humorless smile. This is what happens when hearts get in the way of contracts. Why help me? Because I'd like to choose the person who ruins me. She stepped back into shadow. I stood under the chandelier, the Judge Loveglass throwing broken stars across foyer, and swallowed the taste of talc and blood. My hands wouldn't still. Another message arrived. No name, same clipped tone. Keep him away from that shop. Yo, you're not the only one being photographed. A chill moved over my scalp. Whoever texted knew more than I. Did whoever texted wasn't on my father's payroll. Midnight sat on the banister like a warning. I pictured the greenhouse from the photo wire in bloom, hands moving through light, and felt heat crawl up my throat. The text that mocked the crash kept pulsing in my pocket. My father's command echoed in my bones. One was a dare. One was a sentence, not like this. I packed a bag with nothing sentimental and everything useful. Cash, keys, a shirt that didn't look like a lawyer's son. I left the hospital bracelet on my nightstand, and where the judge would read it as obedience. The house breathed like a sleeping animal that wouldn't wake unless I ran. At the door, my phone vibrated again. Unknown, if you want to breathe, come to the Greenhouse Off magazine after closing. Come alone. I stared until the words blurred and steadied. Somewhere a train called and the city answered. I tucked the ring deeper so the metal could bite and remind me who I was refusing. The night hummed like a dare. I didn't know his name yet. I knew only this. The part of me that had nodded its whole life had finally said no. And something in this city iron balconies and soft hands, wire and bloom, was ready to answer back. The greenhouse door clicked after midnight. Humid air rushed me, thick with cut stems and wet soil. Lamps hummed. Back entrance, the text had said. Come alone? I did. My father's tracker blinked in a taxi miles away. I palmed the ring in my pocket like a bad coin and slipped between rows of green. Breath fogged in the glow, close the door. The voice came from my left low, wore, nin, like gravel after rain. He stepped into the aisle, broad shoulders under a work shirt, sleeves shoved to the elbow, hands nicked by wire and days. His eyes were the slow kind that take you in like weather. Older than me by more than a little. You Ethan? He asked. I nodded. Daniel, he said, you have 3 minutes before your father's people realize you slipped your leash. Heat crawled up my neck. How do you know about because they asked about you? He tipped his chin toward a bouquet order bearing my last name like a brand. And because a man in a suit stood where you're standing and called you a phase. I tasted metal. Harris. Daniel didn't flinch. I told him this shop do favors for men who talk about sons like invoices. I hadn't come here to cry, I came to breathe. You texted me? No. He wiped his palms on his apron. But I left the back light on, in case you were the kind of fool who comes anyway. A pump kicked on, a quiet heart under the floor. He looked at my split lip, reached up and stopped a breath short. Fingers hovered like a promise without permission. You should ice that, he said. I don't want cold, I heard myself say. What do you want, Ethan? My life back. It sounded small and true. He exhaled, that costs more than flowers. I took out the ring. The metal flashed and went dull. Then I'll pay first. I set it into his rough hand. He didn't close his fingers. He looked at me instead, searching for a lie. When he didn't find one, he slid the ring into the dirt of a nearby pot, pressed it under with his thumb, and wiped the soil from his skin like a sacrament completed. Now you've done something you can't undo, he said. So have you, I said. The front door rattled. Daniel moved fast. He pulled me between rack sleeves, kissed water onto my neck. He caged me with an arm as a flashlight washed the counter. Quiet, he breathed against my cheek. Footsteps, Harris' voice. Open up, Miller. Routine check. Daniel didn't answer. His palm found my ribs, holding me still without force. The beam tracked across petals, glass wire. He knows you're here, Daniel murmured. What he does know is whether I'll hand you over. Will you ask better? Will you help me? Something flickered, tired, fierce. Yes, the light slid away. Boots scraped. A car idled, then drifted. Only then did his hand ease, but not leave. I realized I'd been leaning into it, borrowing stillness. Why, I asked, because I remember being 23, with a hand on my throat. He filled a bowl, lifted gauze, nodded for me to sit. His knuckles brushed my jaw while he cleaned the cut. The sting felt like honesty. Claire is not your enemy, he said. But she's part of the machine. She told me to disappear clean. Smart woman. He dabbed, met my eyes. Are you? I was raised to be visible, I said. He made me his mirror, and now I break. The certainty surprised me. I don't know where I land. He folded the gauze. Then start where you can breathe. Here, he looked at the door, the ceiling camera, the street beyond the glass. Then he set his jacket around my shoulders, a practiced motion that felt like a choice. For tonight, he said, turn off your location. If you hear tires and men, go out the back, left then left again. There's a gate the city forgot. You've done this, I have, how many times? Enough to know you never owe the men who hid you. You didn't text me, I said, but someone did. Maybe someone who hates your father more than you do. That's a long list, then use it. He said, hate is useless until it becomes a map. If I come back tomorrow, if you do, you'll be choosing this again. This, not being owned, I already chose. I tugged his jacket tighter without meaning to, his mouth tilted. Then go before I keep you here because you're safer where I can see you. Would that be keeping, I said, or keeping safe, both? I stood, our knees touched, a single point of contact writing something electric in me. If they corner you, he said, don't argue, run. I'm tired of running, then run towards something. What? Your own voice. He opened the back door, a thin triangle of night-cutting humid light. I hesitated. If I run back here. I'll open the door again, he said. Until I can't, why would you? Because I remember who did it for me. Boots scuffed out front. Time collapsed. He put his palm between my shoulder blades and pushed firm and warm. I stepped into the alley. Before the door shut, I met his eyes through the wedge of light. Thank you, I said. Don't make me regret it, he said. The lock clicked. My heart kept going. I followed his left forgotten gate. City inhaled. I pressed my back to iron and smiled like a man who had just stolen his name back with help from a stranger whose hand still lived on his ribs. I walked into night counting heartbeat like mile markers, each farther from him and closer to myself. I went back the next night because anywhere else felt like a lie. The air outside the greenhouse clung to me, heavy with August heat. But stepping through that back door was different. Daniel stood by the sink rinsing his hands, forearms wet, hair damp with sweat. He looked up, not surprised. You shouldn't be here, he said. I couldn't stay away. Silence stretched, only the hum of lamps and the drip of water from his fingers. He tossed me a towel, our eyes caught, his steady, mine restless. He wasn't a man who fidgeted, he was carved from stillness, and that stillness made my pulse pound harder. He poured hot water into chipped mugs, sliding one across the counter. Our knuckles brushed, too light, too short, but it burned. He noticed his mouth twitched as if he meant to hide something. We sat close on the battered couch in the back room. Rain began outside, a sudden Louisiana downpour tapping the roof like fingertips. Inside, the air grew tighter. He leaned back, arm over the cushion, and my shoulder nearly brushed him. My chest kept rising too fast, as if I couldn't slow it down. You're shaking, he said. I'm not. Don't lie to me. You've had enough of that. His hand grazed my wrist. Not an embrace, just a test. My skin betrayed me. I leaned into it, desperate for contact. He pulled back as if burned, then stood and paced. You don't know what you're doing, he said. Yes, I do. I crossed the room. My breath fogged the space between us. He turned, and suddenly we were chest to chest. His shirt clung to him, damp from work, the smell of soap and earth rising with the heat. I shouldn't touch you, he whispered, then don't, but I didn't move away. Our foreheads brushed barely like an accident. My lips parted. Before I realized, his breath hit me warm and uneven. His hand lifted, hesitated, then traced the edge of my jaw with the back of his fingers. That single touch wrecked me more than any kiss ever had. The rain hammered louder, the lights flickered, and for one suspended second the world was only his hand, my skin, and the space about to collapse. I wanted him to close it. I wanted him to break first. He pulled back, jaw clenched. If I start, I won't stop. I swallowed. Maybe I don't want you to. He cursed under his breath and shoved his hands into his pockets like it would cage them. The air between us pulsed, charged, unbearable. I turned, sat on the edge of the couch, and let silence work on him. Seconds passed. Then his footsteps came closer. He stood behind me, hand hovering over my shoulder, not touching, just close enough that the heat of him set me on fire. Ethan. My name sounded like a warning and a promise at once. I turned. His face was inches from mine. I saw every line of restraint carved there, every battle he was losing. My hand rose on its own, fingers brushing his chest through the thin fabric. His breath hitched. The kiss didn't happen. It lived in the half-inch between us, in the way our eyes locked, in the tremor of his hand as it finally landed on my shoulder. Firm, grounding, dangerous. Then a noise outside a car door slamming. Voices on the street. We both froze. He pulled away sharply, jaw set. You need to go, he said. I don't want to. You don't have a choice. Not tonight? He shoved his jacket into my arms. eyes still burning with everything he hadn't allowed himself to do. Where this smells like me. Maybe Thay'll think twice. I slipped into the night with the storm still raging, his warmth wrapped around me, and the taste of almost lingering like sin. The night after the storm, I came back. Reckless, my chest still burned from what hadn't happened on that couch. I more needed it, but Daniel's face was different when he opened the door, harder, shut down. On the counter lay an envelope I recognized, the same kind my father used for contracts. Where did you get that? I asked. He didn't answer, just slid it across the table. Inside, photographs, me and him, grainy, from outside the greenhouse. My father's signature scrawled at the bottom of a typed page. Evidence. My throat closed. He's using you. Daniel's voice was sharp. No, Ethan. He's using you. You're dragging me into something I can't fight. The words sliced deeper than the photos. My pulse spiked, fury and shame crashing together. So what? You're giving up, going to hand me back. He shoved the chair hard. Don't put that on me. The room pulsed with heat. We stood too close, anger spilling like gasoline. My hand hit his chest, pushing. He caught my wrist. His grip was iron. But his eyes burned with the same hunger I'd seen the night before. You don't even know who I am, he said. Then tell me. His jaw locked. Silence. The air between us cracked. My wrist still trapped. I stepped closer, face inches from his. The anger twisted into something else raw, unbearable. For a heartbeat we almost kissed, mouths so near I could taste the coffee on his breath. But he shoved me back. This is a mistake. I laughed, bitter. Then, why do you look at me like that? He didn't answer, just turned away, hands braced on the counter like he could hold himself up with wood alone. You think him safe? I shouted. You think he won't destroy you too? Daniel spun, eyes dark. He already tried. You're too blind to see it. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? He shook his head, lips tight, refusing to say more. The silence was louder than thunder. Fine, I snapped. I ripped his jacket off my shoulders and hurled it onto the couch. If you want me gone, say it, go. His voice cracked on the word. The sound gutted me more than if head begged. I grabbed my bag, fist shaking, and stalked toward the door. When my hand hit the knob, I froze. Behind me, Daniel's breath caught like he wanted to stop me. But he didn't. I stepped into the night, the greenhouse light spilling after me for only a second before the door slammed shut. For the first time since I'd met him, I felt colder outside than in. The night I left, I swore I wouldn't go back. Pride was gasoline in my veins, but by the second day, pride tasted like ash. My phone buzzed with unknown numbers, warnings, threats, silence, and then one text that froze me. He's hurt. Greenhouse. Hurry. No name. No number I knew. Just a gut punch. I told myself it was a trick. My father's trap. But my feet still carried me through the storm. Soaked streets of New Orleans, hoodie low, pulse banging against my ribs. The greenhouse looked deserted. Lights off, door cracked. I slipped inside. Heart thudding like a countdown. Daniel was slumped on the couch, shirt torn, blood on his temple. A smashed vase glittered across the floor. My chest collapsed. Daniel, I dropped beside him, hand shaking. His eyes flickered open. You shouldn't be here. Too late. My fingers brushed his hair back, sticky with blood. My throat closed around everything I couldn't say. Who did this? He gave a bitter laugh that turned into a wince. Your father doesn't send flowers. Anger boiled through my fear. It'll kill him. No. His hand caught my wrist. Weak but firm. You'll survive. Him. For a moment, everything else disappeared. His hand lingered on mine, blood warm between us. My body shook with the urge to hold him, to anchor myself in that contact. You came back, he whispered. I couldn't stay gone. Our faces were close again, like every time fate shoved us into the same breath. His lips parted. I leaned closer, reckless, starving. The smell of rain and iron filled the air. His mouth brushed mine, soft, broken, desperate. The kiss lasted a second, maybe two, but it shattered me. Heat spread through my chest like fire caught on gasoline. His hand slid to my jaw, trembling, pulling me closer. Then a sound outside, boots on wet pavement, voices clipped, official. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. We broke apart, breathless, terror and hunger tangled. They are here for you, Daniel rasped. No. For us. I pulled him up, arm around his waist. He staggered, but didn't fight me. We stumbled through the back, out into an alley drenched in shadow. A black sedan idled across the street. Headlights off, the kind my father favored. We can't go back, I said. Daniel's jaw tightened. Then we go forward. We ran, half limping, half carrying each other, through streets that smelled of rain and gasoline. A siren cut closer. Tires hissed. My mind screamed, trapped. but my chest screamed louder, not without him. We ducked into a broken door motel, paying cash to a clerk who didn't look up. Inside the room, the silence was thick enough to choke on. Daniel collapsed on the bed, breathing hard, blood drying on his temple. I cleaned the wound with trembling hands, every brush of gauze too tender, too dangerous. He watched me through heavy lashes, gaze burning even through pain. "You're going to get yourself killed," he murmured. "I don't care, you should." I said, "Not if it means leaving you." His fingers caught mine, weak but insistent. For a heartbeat, the world shrank to that contacty hum of the neon sign outside, the smell of antiseptic, sound of his breath ragged in my ear, then a knock at the door. 3 sharp raps. We froze. Daniel's eyes went wide. They found us. The knock came again, harder, a voice muffled through the wood. "Ethan Walker." "Open up, not police. Worse, my father's men." I grabbed Daniel's hand. His grip tightened like a vow. We looked at each other, knowing the same truth. This wasn't over. Not even close. The pounding on the motel door rattled through my chest like a second heartbeat. Daniel grabbed my wrist before I could move. His eyes burned half fury, half terror. "Don't answer," he said. The knocks came. Again, harder, the wood groaning, then silence. Tires hissed on wet pavement outside. Whoever it was, they hadn't gone far. My father's men knew patience. Daniel sat back on the bed, breathing hard. "Temple still bruised. You should leave me," he said. I shook my head. "You know I want." His laugh was raw, broken. "Then you're a fool, maybe." "But your fool." The silence that followed was thicker than the walls. I sat beside him, so close our knees touched. His hand twitched like he wanted to push me away, but he didn't. My chest was cage, every breath caught between fight and surrender. "You don't understand what your father is capable of," Daniel said. "I've lived with it my whole life." "No." His eyes cut into me. "You've lived under it. You've never seen what it does to people outside his house. What are you talking about?" He looked away, jaw tight, hands flexing. "He came to me once, years ago, long before you. I did work for him documents, signatures. Land deals nobody was supposed to see. I thought it was just business, but it wasn't. It was blood money. The floor dropped beneath me. My throat closed. You worked for him." He didn't look at me. I walked away when I realized what it was, but no one walks clean. Not from a man like him. The room tilted. My chest slammed tight. The man I'd run to, one I thought was my only safe place, had once carried my father's weight in his hands. That's why he wanted you gone, Daniel whispered. "Not because of me, because of what I know." Rage rose hot, tangled with betrayal. "You should have told me. I didn't want you to see me like that. You think I care." My voice cracked. "You think I'd rather be his puppet than know the truth about you." His hand shot out, gripping my shoulder, pulling me closer until our foreheads touched. "I thought if I kept you at arm's length, he couldn't use me against you." "Too late," I whispered. For a moment, the anger dissolved into something hungrier, fiercer. His breath warmed my cheek, his lips just a breath from mine. My body leaned before my mind caught up. Our mouths crash-hit hard. Desperate bruising, every unspoken word, every broken promise poured into it. His hands clutched my jaw, mine knotted in his shirt. We broke only when air failed us. He pressed his forehead to mine. Eyes shut tight. "I love you," he said, voice cracked raw, "and that terrifies me." My chest ripped open, then let it, but outside engines roared to life. Headlights swept through the blinds. Tires crunched gravel. Daniel jerked back, eyes wild. "They've found us. We run," I said. He shook his head. "Not this time." He grabbed my face, kissed me once heard, final. Then he whispered, "If I don't walk out with you, he won't stop until you're dust." No, before I could move, he shoved me toward the bathroom, slamming the door. I pounded, shouted, but the lock clicked through the thin wall. I heard his voice, rough and certain. "You wanted the truth. Here it is. I'm the reason hell never let you go." Then the motel door burst open. Boots thundered. Shouts filled the room. I pressed against the bathroom door, fists bloody on the wood, hearing everything but seeing nothing until the final words cut through chaos. "Ethan Walker isn't the prize," a man said. "Daniel Miller is." The sound of chains. Daniel's voice, low, "Don't follow." Then silence. When I finally forced the bathroom door open, the room was empty. Bed sheets torn, lamp smashed, door hanging. Only his jacket lay on the floor, warm from his body, already fading. My father's empire hadn't just stolen me, it had stolen him too, and the worst part, had chosen it for me. The motel was silent after they left. Silent in the way that made your ears ring, as if the world had stopped. Breathing, I stood in the wreckage, chest heaving, palms bleeding from splinters where I'd pounded the bathroom door too long. Daniel's jacket lay on the floor, still warm, still smelling like him sweat, rain, earth. I lifted it, pressed it to my face, my throat caught. If I closed my eyes, I could almost believe he was still here, but the echo of boots and chains told me otherwise. I stumbled outside, down the cracked steps into the wet night. The street was empty, slick with rain, neon buzzing in puddles. A cigarette burned half, dead on the pavement. A reminder, they'd been here, they'd taken him. I walked with no destination, just moving because standing still meant shattering. My body shook from exhaustion and something worse. Grief wasn't the word. Grief meant final. This felt unfinished, jagged, cruelly paused. At dawn, I found myself back at the greenhouse. The door hung open. Inside, everything looked abandoned with broken pots. The damp soil, the couch still indented where head sat. I touched it, fingertips trembling, as if the imprint of his weight could anchor me. I wanted him to walk back in, to slam the door, to curse me, to hold me again. Instead, only silence answered. I pulled out my phone. My father's number glowed on the screen. My thumb hovered. Call, and maybe I'd get Daniel back. Call, and maybe I'd sign my own death. I didn't press it. The screen went black, leaving me with my reflection eyes red, lips bruised from a kiss that already felt stolen. Days blurred. I hid in cheap rooms, drifting like a ghost. I wore his jacket until the smell faded. I kept hearing his voice, daunt follow, but every night I replayed the sound of chains, the scrape of his boots dragged across the floor. Once I thought I saw him at a gas station. Outside Baton Rouge, a man with his walk, his shoulders. I ran, breathless, calling his name. He turned, not him, just another stranger. I laughed too hard, too broken, until the clerk told me to leave. Another time, I caught his name whispered in a bar. A rumor carried on smoke. Miller. The one Walker's men took. My chest hollowed. I leaned in, desperate. The man just shook his head. Some debts you don't pay back. I stopped asking after that, but the silence was worse. One night, weeks later, I sat in a bus station. Ticket in my pocket I couldn't bring myself to use. Rain streaked the windows. A reflection flickered in the glass-broad shoulders. Head bowed. My breath caught. I turned empty row. My hands shook so bad I dropped the ticket. I didn't pick it up. Everywhere I went, I felt him. In the scrape of boots on wet pavement, in the slam of a door, in the smell of soil after rain. Sometimes I whispered his name just to hear how it broke in my throat. And then on more time. I stood at the greenhouse. Only rubble now, bulldozed to nothing. No couch, no soil, no place where Wed sat with silence stretched between us like a wire ready to snap. Just dirt. I dropped his jacket there, the last piece, watched the wind tug at it, watched it fold into the earth. My chest cracked open, but I didn't pick it back up. If he ever came back, he'd know where to find it. If he never did, at least part of him was here with me. The night pressed in, heavy, unanswering. My phone buzzed once in my pocket. No name, just a number. I stared, thumb trembling. I didn't answer. The screen dimmed. Darkness took the room, and I whispered the only truth I had left. Him still here, even if he's not.